What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Peña knives Large Apache. And I want to thank Kevin from Knife Nerdery, because this is not one of his knives, and you can find Kevin Knife Nerdery. He does great stuff, but he's the one who told me of the existence of this knife. And the truth is that I tried to buy one from him and trade for one of his, and he liked his so much that he wanted to keep it. So I was on the hunt for one, and I finally found one at Crane's Cutlery. And I'm very glad that I did, because see, this is part of Peña's X series, which is that's his collaboration with Riyadh. But this particular one is part of a set that, he has the Apache, the Raptor, the Trapper. There's like 4 or 5 different variants of this kind of modern traditional knife that you see here, and all of them are the small version of the knife. And so let me show you the comparison here. I'll get to size comparisons here, but this is the regular Apache, and most of the Raptor and all of those are on this size. But my favorite one is the Apache blade shape, is this kind of reverse tanto sheep's foot blade. And because it's my favorite, I decided to get it in diamond steel, but then they come up with a large Apache, and for my large hands, it's a much better size. So I was very glad when I heard that there was a large Apache version of the knife, because since it's my favorite knife on this series, I'm glad that that's the one that they made a large. I don't think there's a large version of the other ones. So let me give you a tour of the knife. Now, this version is from Crane's Cutlery. I'm not sure if you can find it anywhere else in this configuration, but there are other configurations elsewhere. So this one has an M390 blade, and let me show you the length. So it's just over 3 inches by my measurements. So it is a larger blade, and I'll give you more comparisons. This one has a Damascus pivot collar. It has this. It's a bolstered a carbon fiber overlay, and on this side you got the same Damascus pivot collar. You've got a bolster lock on the carbon fiber overlay, and then a Damascus pocket clip. And I really like this combination. I think I have one, the mini diesel that came with the Damascus stuff, but it had this brown micarta, and that combination of the brown micarta and the Damascus, I didn't like it, so I ended up trying to dye the brown. So this is a really nice configuration. You've got a solid back spacer that lines up perfectly. Like I said, you've got a bolster lock, and you've got a lock bar insert, which acts as it doesn't act as an over travel stop, because you don't need an over travel stop on a bolster lock, because you can never get past, since this kind of liner hits the overlay that acts as your travel stop. So the lock bar is just that. It's just a lock bar. So let me start by giving you some size comparisons, because this is a much better size, especially if you got larger hands. It's still not a large knife by any stretch. Like, this is the Para 2, and that is the Para 3. So as you can tell, what we have here is a knife that in length, it's still shorter than the Para 3. Obviously it's shorter, but it's also much more compact. This one, I'll show you here what it folds into, but it feels kind of a gentleman's carry a roll for me. You can see it folds up very neatly. Oh, in case I didn't mention it, this is a front flipper, and probably a better size comparison is against the bug outs. So that's the full-size bug out. So very much in the neighborhood of the full-size bug out size. It's probably a little bit thinner in this direction, but it's fatter. But I think they carry similarly, and there's a lot of for size comparisons. I think the bug out is probably the best comparison that I'm gonna be able to give you. Now let me show you here. Try to give you what's the best way to do this. So it's got even though they're kind of the same size, this one's a little bit thicker, and it's got a thicker blade than the bug out. So that's your size comparisons. So let's get started with the review. And the ergonomics on this are markedly better for my hands than this. Oh, and well, you've seen it already, but let me give you the size comparison to the small. So this is the Large Apache, this is the regular Apache. So as you can tell, the blade is about a 1/4 inch shorter. If I'm lining up the pivots, this is about a 1/4 inch shorter. It's a 1/4 inch shorter on the blade. It's probably 1/4 to a 1/2 inch shorter on the handle. So obviously it's just bigger in all dimensions. So the ergonomics on this one, because it has a larger handle, because it's taller, because all of the dimensions are bigger, I wear large gloves, and this just fits my hand so much better. This just fits so much better. I'm not sure that the regular Apache is going to stick around in my collection, because I think this one is just a much better size. It's a much better size for me. Now, the pocket clip, in the way that I want to grab it, in the way that I want to hold it, you feel it a little bit right around this area of your hand. I can feel it there. But I would say that the ergonomics, if you have probably medium to large hands, these is going to feel much better than the traditional size, than the regular size Apache. It's still not what I would consider a very ergonomic knife. It's got a very neutral handle. You can hold it in a variety of different grips, and it'll work. Not hugely ergonomic, but it's also okay, because it's contoured in this direction. It feels your hand. It's thicker. You can grab onto it. I wouldn't consider this knife a hard use knife, but I also think that if you wanted to push through something, you could. There's enough knife there that you feel like you're grabbing on something, and the jimping is very effective. It's shallow, but it's kind of sharp. It doesn't hurt at all, but it just locks your hand in place. I think the ergonomics are okay, without being fantastic, especially because of the neutral handle, but I think that they're much better than the ergonomics on the regular size Apache. So cutting is very good with this one. I like the sheep's foot blade. I think it's a very useful blade, and what you see here is that the blade stock is the same that they used in the regular Apache. So you got a larger blade, but with the same stock. It's a tad bit taller, so you end up with a little bit of a thinner edge, and you got more edge to cut with. So this is a very usable EDC. Again, for me, this fills the role of kind of a gentleman's folder. Something that I want to wear, when I can't wear something larger, like a pair of 3 or a pair of 2. I'm sorry. And so usually my cutting tasks with this are going to be very mild, okay, very light. But I've done some cutting with it. I've put it through its paces, and I think that this is a better cutter than the regular Apache. I think it's still not quite as slicey as the bug out, just because the bug out has a taller blade. It has a taller blade and a thinner blade stock, so it gets down to an even thinner edge. But the sheep's foot blade allows you to get down on a package. It allows you to do shallow cuts much easier, and I think that I enjoyed this blade a little bit more than I do the bug out. Although I do think that the bug out is slicier. So I would say that the cutting with this it's a fairly pleasant experience. But again, I would say that you kind of have to choose your knife for the occasion. I would say this is excellent for a gentleman's carry. I would say that it's okay for an EDC, but definitely not for a hard use knife. Now, action on this is very, very nice. The front flippers, they've kind of grown on me. I still prefer flippers to front flippers, or to basically anything else. But front flipping this is very it's very easy, and it's a lot easier than the traditional Apache. And the reason for that is, when you have larger hands, this knife, I kind of have to make a claw to kind of get it to deploy it. I struggle much more deploying the regular version of the Apache, but the large version of the Apache, it's a lot easier for me. It just fits my hand better. And even though I think they have the same blade stock, for whatever reason, I have less trouble accessing the lock bar on the large Apache. So this is just a better knife for my size of hand, from both an action, cutting, ergonomics perspective. And even my ideal blade size is 3 1/4, and so we said that this knife came in at 3 inches, but if you take a look at the regular Apache, so it's 2 3/4 inches, right about there. So this is just a much better size for my hands. If you've got smaller hands, you probably enjoy more the regular Apache, but the large Apache, it's better suited for, I think, medium or large hands. I don't think extra large hands will enjoy this, just because I don't think you'll be able to kind of maneuver it very well. But again, Riyadh, I think, has become a master of action. I think their deployment, their detents, they do all methods, thumb studs, they do holes, deployment holes, and flippers, and all of them just work phenomenally. I haven't gotten a Riyadh knife that doesn't have great action, and this is no exception. On the closing, it's not quite a drop shot. It's a fairly light blade. It's small. It's only a 3-inch blade, so you still have to kind of shake it shut. But I think deploying it is very nice, very crisp. Fit and finish on this is outstanding. I think Riyadh does a great job. I really do. And this version of the knife, I think, just has a lot of details, right? I think that the Damascus, and let me get you a little closer here. The Damascus on the pocket clip and on the pivot collar is just really, really nice. And then you've got contoured carbon fiber overlays. You've got this really nice flush backspacer here. You've got a sharpening choil that is very effective. I haven't sharpened this yet, but I'm pretty sure this will be very nice. You've got this swedge. The jimping is perfect. I think the fit and finish on these, I have probably 5 X series knife from Peña. I have a couple of Ultramars from Chavez that are Riyadh made. I have a number of Riyadh made knives, and the fit and finish is just phenomenal. It's just really, really nice. Airing of grievances, I think they could, even though this lock bar access is better than the regular size, I still think that they could do a little bit better, especially if you're doing this for a larger size hand, right? Because it's a larger size knife, then I think you can improve on the lock bar access. I think the pocket clip, I wouldn't call it as particularly a hot spot, but I do think that maybe the corner could be rounded a little bit to make the ergonomics a little bit better. And this is not a complaint on this knife, but I would like to see the rest of the X series of this collection be done in a large size, because I think a large size Raptor would probably be very nice to have. But I would recommend this knife. I think, I would recommend this over the regular size Apache. I really think, for most people, a 3-inch knife is still considered a small knife, and this is a 3-inch knife. So now, even though it's a 3-inch knife, you still get a full purchase on the knife. So it's the type of knife that I recommend, because I like when you have, enough blade to do what you need to do, and enough handle to get a full purchase. And that's something that you start to lack on smaller knives. I think the small one is just a little bit too small, or it's not the small one, the regular one. But in any event, I do recommend it. I think some of these might still be available at Cringe Cutlery, so go take a look. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, if I earned it, then like and subscribe. And don't get notified. Nobody likes to get more emails. You know where to find my content if you enjoyed it. I'll be here, and until I see you at the next one, take care.